sources close to him. Shakespearean is one word that comes to mind. Joining me now with the details, CNN special correspondent Jamie Gangel. This all started, I guess, as a Facebook post saying that George H.W. Bush would be voting for Clinton. That was in November. You reached out to sources. What are they telling you?
So what happened was the Points of Light Foundation is now a bipartisan group,
right,
and Kathleen Kennedy Townsend is one of the people on that, and she was at the meeting yesterday, and all of a sudden she posts on Facebook that former President Bush has told me he's voting for Hillary. This came as quite a shock to everybody because they had thought it was a private conversation. So for the record, they have an official statement that I would say is a dodge or a deflection from their spokesman. He's saying the vote President Bush will cast as a private citizen in some 50 days will be just that, a private vote cast in 50 days. He's not commenting on the presidential race in the interim. That said, our sources have told us, multiple sources, that in fact they confirmed that he did say it to her, and also that this is not a surprise to people who know him. He has told other people that he was going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
You interviewed the former First Lady, and I remember it was a very distinctive interview, and she didn't mince words in what she was saying about Donald Trump.
Right, that was the last interview she's done. That was the one where she so eloquently said, when I asked her what she thought of Donald Trump, I'm sick of Donald Trump. And we're going to play a little bit more of it, and we'll talk on the other side.
He doesn't give many answers to how he would solve problems. He sort of makes faces and says insulting things. I mean, he's said terrible things about women, terrible things about military. I don't understand why people are for him for that reason. I'm a woman. I'm not crazy about what he says about women.
So, vintage Barbara Bush. She has not publicly said who she's voting for.
Right.
I guess it's not Donald Trump.
There is a photo that I remember seeing of President George W. Bush with Hillary Clinton at, I think it was at Nancy Reagan's funeral.
And this is all over social media. And this should not be taken as that former President Bush, 43, is voting for Hillary Clinton. But you can't miss that there is a warm relationship here that people might not expect. We reached out to him today. He is sticking by. He is saying he is staying out of this race. He's not going to do anything except he's raising a lot of money to try to make sure Republicans get reelected in Congress. And we should say the Bushes are not a block on this. So we now know what 41 thinks. We know 43 is sitting out. Jeb has told me he's not voting for Trump or Hillary. His son, George P., says he is voting for Trump. So all different sides.
Jamie Gangel, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Always good to have you on. We're going to obviously have to wait to see how or even if this affects Donald Trump's campaign or Hillary Clinton's campaign for that matter. In the meantime, one of Trump's top surrogates, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, is facing another brush fire of sorts sparked by a fraud trial that got underway this week with a surprising allegation by prosecutors. Phil Mattingly has that.
As far as Chris Christie has fallen politically, there has always been one saving grace.
At 211 4-lane traffic is a nightmare.
No evidence existed to tie him to the deliberate September 2013 closure of lanes on the George Washington Bridge. Until now, prosecutors say.
I've been investigated by 3 different entities, 2 of them led by partisan Democrats, who, have all found that I had no knowledge of this incident and no involvement in it.
During opening statements of the fraud trial involving top Christie administration officials, prosecutors told jurors they would prove Christie was aware of their activities as the closures were happening. For Christie, it's the scandal that helped turn a leading presidential contender into an early primary dropout.
It's both the magic and the mystery of politics, that you never quite know when which is going to happen, even when you think you do.
Even as he maintained from the very beginning that he had no knowledge of the alleged political retribution carried out by his aides.
Well, let me tell you, everybody, I was blindsided yesterday morning. That was the first time I knew about this. It's the first time I had seen any of the documents that were revealed yesterday.
But questions about whether that's actually the case have long simmered, as charges against his allies have moved through the court. including the revelation uncovered in court documents in August of a December 2013 text from a campaign aide saying Christie, quote, flat out lied about what he knew. Yet even as his own presidential campaign fizzled and the trial loomed, Christie's role with the man he endorsed, Donald Trump, continued to grow.
There is no one who is better prepared to provide America with the strong leadership that it needs.
Even though Trump in December took the same position prosecutors are taking now.
Here's the story. The George Washington Bridge. He knew about it.
But even there, the scandal known as Bridgegate helped cost Christie what aides say he desperately wanted: to be Trump's running mate.
How much of a factor do you believe the trouble with the Bridgegate was a factor in you not getting picked for vice president?
I'm sure it was a factor.
Phil Mattingly, CNN, New York.
Well, coming up, Trump's core supporters, white working-class voters, among other things, they are worried their Christian values are under threat. How that could play on Election Day, coming up next.